What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo, another day of drama. Of course, I've just uploaded my take on the whole Flashpoint, Nanamo, NIP situation. If you're watching the stream, it's at the beginning of the VOD. I won't be repeating myself on that one. But this game also happened on this day with the big drama. There's never a day of rest in the Counter-Strike world. Always something new going on, which makes it exciting. But holy shit, are the bags below my eyes becoming bigger every day with it. Why can't we ever just get a moment to relax? And why can't FaZe ever get a moment to relax? Wow, what a transition here. We talk about a roster that I'd just like to say I've been basically wrong about all of my predictions, not only coming into Flashpoint the last few months. First of all, I thought that OG would win this tournament. I thought FaZe were going to be a dark horse to win the major. I thought that Vitality were going to fall off bad. I thought blah, blah, blah. Everything I'm wrong about. So I'm just here to investigate my own biases, my own assumptions, and of course, making predictions as talent on the desk on the casts or on YouTube or whatever makes it more fun to watch for me, for people watching. So I'll continue to try to make guesses, but I'll try to make them better by figuring out where I was wrong and why. So, okay, in my opinion, right now, we look at a couple of rosters. I like to contextualize FaZe by looking at Malisports, for example. Now, FaZe Clan have always been the example of a team that have tried to throw money at the problem, and in the past, that clearly has not worked. And of course, they were within touching distance of the 2018 Boston Major, the major that I love to remind all my European friends about daily. But ultimately, after that, they still didn't have an excuse to just completely fall apart, kick Karrigan, etc. They had a really good result there and didn't work out. And they later talked about their regrets in eventually kicking Karrigan and not trying to stick with the roster. And things went from bad to worse. And then they just tried to basically involve more talent in the roster to patch up holes that were actually composition issues or maybe just IGLing issues. And that's, the storyline of Nico going to G2 and also, eventually Karrigan coming back into the lineup. So, I think we look at someone like Mousesports, and this is another team that I have very high hopes for this year, and I'm not technically wrong about this just yet. Of course, they're not exactly achieving amazing results so far, but I would like to say that this is a very nice roster in terms of composition. In fact, I would consider this a perfect example of what a composition on a team should look like, and I always want to favor teams and have always favored teams that go for composition over talent, because right now, you've got, let's talk about different speeds of players. Okay, you have your dedicated entry fragger, you have your Opera, you have your IGL, you have one of the best refraggers in the game, and the best lurker in the entire world, as well as one of the strongest players ever. So you've got superstar level talent, really, really strong refragger, an entry fragger that has some ways to go, but is pretty good and is dedicated to his role. An Opera who looks like he was born to use this weapon, whether or not the results are always there. And Dexter, a high-fragging IGL who seems to be catching up with the meta and improving the roster overall. And the results have been up and down, not always fantastic, but they're starting to win more than they lose. And again, this is, Dexter hasn't spent that much time in Europe after relocating his child. So it's no surprise that there is a bit of a gestation period and whatever. But I think this is a great example of, strong composition, and I think we have some of the same. We have some of that now, but in the past it was kind of like, coldzera came in, became kind of a hard support player. Nico took over some of all of the best spots, and I think like a year or two ago, basically these three players were better overall, right? If we look at coldzera, we have coldzera, who's he actually dropped to his worst form ever, and even though he's recovered it, he's still a shell of who he was even last year. Overall, he's had some better games, and that form is starting to come back up, which is promising. But you worry with a player who has already been a 2 times MVP at majors, way in the past, how long they're going to be able to keep that woody hard. You know what I'm saying? And the same for Rain. Really has weathered the storm with FaZe. Sorry, I've got to have one Rain pun here. He's been the longest standing player of the whole lineup, their entire history. His stats have just progressively just tapered off a little bit downwards. I think when FaZe were at their absolute peak, the optimism was the highest. Rain was actually their best player, and now starts to feel more like really like a role player when before it felt like he would be, I don't know if he was more versatile before, if it was just me with the rose-colored glasses, but it kind of feels like he's more of a flamey type almost, like very good for a couple of highlight clips, but sometimes looks a bit one-dimensional, looks a bit lost. And this was a player who, for example, with Karrigan, spoke of Rain as the very best refragger he had ever played with. And a refragger is the guy who comes in second on executes. Excuse me, that's for the laundry. Comes in second on executes and gets the refrag. And that player is usually looked at as more of a star player than your first in, right? Your first in is more volatile position. They're the guy who all the nades are designed to kill him. He's the guy who's supposed to get flashed. The CTs are supposed to get that kill first. And then the refragger comes in and gets the glory. He gets the info after the entry fragger finds the two guys, and then he gets those 2 kills, and he was set up to, just get those kills. So he was looked at as a star. But right now, Rain's not good enough to do that from what we've seen, basically. Just in terms of just individual level, he's not consistently able to put up the kills to make an argument that he is good enough to play that position or that role to come in as slowly. And right now, the entry duo is him and Karrigan. So these are my assumptions coming into this game, that this match kind of falls apart because with Karrigan going in first and looking for opening kills on a low success rate, that's having a negative impact on the game. And then Rain, since his stats weren't great, that probably him looking for refrags didn't work out too well. And then nobody else is set up that well, especially on a map like Train. And here's how I would characterize Train as a map when it comes to the outside. Okay, the teams that are very good at gaining ground on Train, and let's look at a Train mini map and let me try to like explain what my thoughts are with outside and how what makes a team good and what doesn't. And I think that I actually used to study Karrigan and Rain specifically on this map, so it might be interesting to see this T side and how they are now. But in the last iteration of FaZe when they were together, they had a lot of cool plays where Karrigan set up flashes to help Rain gain a lot of ground outside. And there are a couple of key points on this map that come through with the outside exec. So the reason why, in my opinion, Train is a map that got removed from the pool and what makes it difficult is because outside is a very hard site to coordinate and take. It's a site that requires you to scale really well, and none of the nades are easy to throw, and then it requires you to scale really well, and it's a very chaotic outside, it's a very chaotic area, and there are a lot of choke points and a lot of ways to maneuver around trains really easily. So I think one difficult part about outside on Train is how quickly communication can fall apart. For example, if someone is playing sandwich, 2 seconds later they could be in hell, and then 2 seconds later they can be back green, and then they can actually really be in one place, and that information might not be valuable just moments later. And I think that's what makes it really hard to keep account of everything. And then from the other thing from the T's perspective is that if they don't gain a certain amount of ground in a certain amount of time and get that opening kill, then there are not a lot of good places to stand once there's no more flashbangs and the smokes start to come up, and that makes it easier for the CTs to get the frags. And this is what makes the map very frustrating and very difficult and hard to stay coordinated on. And, this can be a very scary map to play against a team who are super good at the momentum and staying on the same page and really scaling with a lot of force. And this is what made Virtus Pro so good on this map. Astralis were very good at staying coordinated on this map. FaZe, once upon a time, it was a very high win rate map for them. Of course, players like coldzera made their brand playing Ivy on CT side and stuff like that. But yeah, when your fraggers aren't playing that well, things can fall apart very quickly. And I think there is an additional emphasis on your first out and your second out to make sure that you're able to create space. And okay, to talk about something else, I asked Karrigan about at Blast recently. That was oh yeah, all these callouts are completely strange, by the way. But yeah, I was talking to Karrigan about this at Blast when he actually came in live for the after show, and I was saying there was a match where he was consistently walking through a T main smoke outside on Train, and then looking to get a kill, but it didn't seem like he had info before he'd go out, and sometimes he would die. And I said, it feels like this is something that that IGLs are doing a lot. Boomich, you, and Art, and some others. And he said, basically, since he knows the most about the other teams because he's watched the most demos and whatever, if he's the person to go out through a teammate smoke in the middle of a round after some kind of fake has been thrown or some utility to misdirect has been thrown, and he walks out and then he sees Bore up at Sandwich and Katie and Opping Z and whatever, and gets that info on 2 or 3 players, then his team can win the round around his next call because he knows exactly how to counter it. So the way that he's been structuring his game around the current meta is to use himself as a scout to try to figure out what the setup is, because you can't deny him what he sees once he gets out. It costs him his life, and if he's having a really good game, he'll get 1 kill plus some info. But on games right now, it feels like he's not always getting the kill, not always getting the kill, but getting some info, and that just doesn't seem to be enough. And now I want to hop in a demo and see if there's anything to do with Rain about this, because we are here to watch Rain. But yeah, sorry, I'm really blabbing on talking about Rain, Karrigan, FaZe as a whole, and just some individual form. But I'd just like to say before we jump into this game, this is a perception versus narrative game where I'm here to figure out if these things are true. These are my assumptions about what we're going to see in the match. I was watching the match while I was, at Flashpoint, while I was also scrolling through Twitter and, reading about this crazy drama that's been happening. So I'm trying to put together the pieces, basically. I'm trying to fit together, by looking at the scoreboard, which is the perception, and figuring out if the narrative about Rain or about these couple of things that I've learned about the team and the meta are actually true and hold up in this game as well. So why don't we waste no more time and just get in and see what this T side looks like. It was a match where, wow, did Rain really have? Wow, Rain had 10 T side kills across 3 maps. Wow, that's insane. That was actually like a full. It's almost. That's a very full series too. That's a lot of rounds actually. Wow. That's pretty. That is not very many. Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at a 1 in 13 T side. So obviously it's not a great T side. In general, it wasn't really good for anybody here, but. Well, actually, it's not bad for Twistzz. Actually, that's not bad at all. That's actually pretty sick. But okay, not great. Not great. It's gonna be a combination of things. But let's see if any of that stuff is true about Rain and about T side and whatever. And if this idea of this Karrigan Rain thing still exists, that's one thing. For my own main team, like way back in the day, I copied an exact tactic that Rain used with that Karrigan used with Rain on this map on T side. So I really loved Karrigan's tactics from back in the day. Personally, thought they were the most innovative, and I thought they always worked, and they were very, very creative and tricky. But I don't know if we're still thinking about or using some of that same stuff today in 2021. But it has been a long time. It has been a long time. All right. So what's the idea here? Of course, we're using Dominic Tujin's a Half-Life After Effects demo watching utility to be able to watch this in a fake POV from Rain's perspective, where have a nice red kill feed. We actually see Rain's mini-map. So any info that Karrigan or that FaZe clan get, we'll see in the red dots on the radar, like here, for example, as Rain gets shot in the back of the head, scouting out towards upper. And the idea is to get us as close to the feeling of what FaZe clan were going through as the game went on, like to have the same info they had apart from the actual communication, which is the only real gap. But, since we can actually see what anybody sees in the radar, we could technically put together the pieces, I think, well enough, apart from the bad calls, miscalls, or lack of calls. So here, it's also kind of unlucky or bad, of course. I mean, it's a situation where Rain just dies in a default there, and there's going to be rounds where things don't look great for him. And I think we're actually not... Oh, yeah. We'll see what happens here. It looks like Rain is just using this to throw actually a fake to that, so that make sure they don't go inside of T-Con. And then the smoke actually also helps them cross outside. So he drops his smoke so that... All right, so here's a scaling flash so that they can get farther out. And Rain just throws that smoke down so they don't have to watch ladder for the time being. And now he's back on ladder duty, and they full pause outside. And, okay, let's just analyze this position to see what we can assume might happen. So, in this spot, in certain anti-ecos that teams use, what's kind of funny about this is that since we don't go down ladder and we didn't actually clear out ladder, we don't know if there is a person ladder. And so this can affect the round. That's one thing. We actually have Rain, who spent all that utility only to go around through T-Con, to now have to go back and watch ladder for the whole time instead of potentially getting into ladder and waiting and holding ladder down or confirming to his teammates they aren't there. So everybody on the outside site right now has to not be exposed to ladder, or Rain has to make sure he's watching it. The other thing that I'm noticing here is no one's top of the trains, so they aren't able to clear out a number of angles all at once. Sometimes on anti-ecos especially, it's common to go to the top of blue here, to the right of Rain, and then the idea is to, around that A bomb site, as we see on the mini-map, is to try to get all the rotations to come into the back of the bomb site, and then you just funnel them. You stay on top of the train here, you take back 6 control, and then you compromise all the positions outside, and then all the CTs are just sitting behind the bomb site, and then you have them in a funnel. And that's how you take control of outside. But the hard part is getting to the point where you get back 6 control, you get outside, you've done this kinds of scaling. So right here, pausing is totally fine for the T side, and I think they still have a weapons advantage, so that's good. But these are the 2 gaps that I'm thinking about for the CTs that can rotate down. Now here, of course, because the bomb's getting planted, they want to make sure that no one's flanking through ladder. And now we're just looking for basically good post-plant positions. And these are not the greatest post-plant positions, I would say. They're, coldzera's a little bit out in the open. So... yeah, they don't have, like, inside T-Con control. They don't have... Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, so... okay. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, so I think one of the issues, like, for example... Yeah. Yeah, let's call it pause, I think. Okay, so I think basically... Yeah, so... Yeah. If they had, like, let's say, Rain came to T-Con and stayed inside of T-Con, held a flank. They have, like, T-Con. If Rain is in ladder, then they have ladder, and then they can stand in a certain amount of spots. But they kind of were all in the middle by sandwich. coldzera was quite literally in the open, and they were watching their flanks as well as, watching CT spawn and stuff, which allows for, like, a phalanx from the CT side to pinch all of the Ts. But typically, the best post-plant positions are ladder, are T-Con, are hell, and inside Ivy, that kind of thing. They didn't have any of those, but they kind of had the option to get to those positions. So I think collectively, none of them made the executive call to reclaim some map control really quickly, or even just stay in the good spots that they came from when entering onto the site. So I think that was a bad round from FaZe. They definitely did some questionable stuff there, and kind of, almost asked to be killed. And, they could still get their kills and win because they had the weapons advantage, but they didn't do that. So another death here. I don't think we have a kill yet for Rain, of course. Bit of a mechanical failure on that last round. Unable to win his duel versus the UMP. And now back to the default where he's out here holding inner. And I don't remember that this was what he used to do, but I'm actually not sure. But... we'll see if it makes any kind of impact. So, okay, Karrigan as per is outside trying to look for a duel with his rifle first out. And... all right, I guess it's supposed to serve as some kind of fake. Just cause some presence so that they don't rotate too quickly. And we've got a player dying on the other side of the map. I don't know if we're actually going. We're already in ladder here, so I guess we're trying to. Rain is supporting with a flash out through ladder, and I don't know if he's coming in last in this position or what the idea is. But they're canceling, I guess, because coldzera died, and they're making quite a bit of noise. So now they've got to try to go down, and it's already. It seems like, ooh, not great. Yeah, that's oof. That's not great. Oof, that's great. That's not great. Yeah. At least they have ladder room control, so no one can hear maybe that fast rotation. Maybe they felt comfortable thinking that no one could hear that fast rotation. Of course, someone could have been outside of ladder, but yeah, that wasn't too sexy. That looked very minimal. That looked like they made an emergency call when coldzera died, even though they had pretty good utility, like enough time. And now we get a bit of a repeat here as Karrigan goes for his 1D gut side. Yeah, Rain definitely couldn't control his gun. And sometimes taps a bit too much. Is a big fan of the headshot deathmatch. And when it looks good, but doesn't always. You do have to have a good spray in this game. It's very, it's just, even if you're the best player in the world, the AK isn't accurate enough for you to first bullet everybody all the time. Especially at distance, so it's a long distance, so tapping makes sense, but he didn't really have control of that. But yeah, that whole situation looked a little bit basic. The way that they were just like, it feels like Rain just throws kind of a shitty fake or makes a little bit of presence and then leaves, or throw some regular grenades and then they just pick a site and go in for a regular execute. There's nothing really incredibly innovative that we've seen so far in this position. And we look for a bomb plant. No kills come down. That's fine. To take a duel, that's okay. No harm, no foul. You on the inner side of train, you can't just sit back and wait for the round to be won, because there's eventually the CTs will take enough space and punish you if you sit on default and stuff like that. So you can't really do that. So tries to go for it. Okay, dude, it's actually kind of mental how many times we've already seen that FaZe clan are getting the opening kill. And here coldzera gets two, so it'd be pretty indefensible if FaZe lose this round. We haven't seen how it's gone down, but it's usually been Karrigan to get that kill. coldzera just killing everybody. Yeah, the movement is not absolutely fantastic for Rain as well. It's something I noticed a little bit that feels like, especially if you're going to be playing ladder, like you want a player like flameZ to be on your T side defaults on train, and this isn't a map we're going to be talking about for a long time, so it might not matter. But yeah, your movement around the ladder, it's some of the more hard movement of any position in a default on any map, and it has to be pretty good. You got to be pretty slick to not take damage. The way you jump spot has to be pretty precise. And okay, Brokey comes out, tries to take this duel. Slacks is waiting for him. And Karrigan just attempts it. I think feels like he has a pass to go ahead and just look for some information. And that is officially Rain's one kill in the whole half that we'll see. Traded over top of E-Box. I actually was watching this from his perspective in the match, and I just want to say I knew he was going to die for jumping and shooting. I knew he was going to get... It looks like a crazy shot, but I think there's part of you that's actually ready for that if you're on the other side knowing that he's at E-Box. But better than peeking on the right side, I guess, and trying to smoke Z that way. Yeah. So we've got similar stuff. I mean, I don't know how prepared Sprout are in terms of the way that FaZe have been approaching inner and stuff like that. But it's been really light most of the time. Oh my god, Rain would have definitely taken a lot of damage there if his opponent had a gun out. They have one ladder, and that info is actually really nice, but they don't kill Dennis, so he's still alive as well. And they need utility. Yeah, okay. They finally throw the smoke down. And now they're in a pretty good spot. Yeah, okay, they'll get the bomb planted, and I think it's just Dennis, the B rotator, that they're going to look for. He was probably saving somewhere. They'll win the round off that. So they get the entries. That's good. Okay, something a little bit different. We've got the smoke that pops over the middle of the site. It's just a very standard flash that's great to help you scale again. It lands behind your teammates who are facing forward, wrapping the site, and this is all about, again, trying to scale. And I guess there was one person outside they didn't know about. I mean, I didn't know either that someone was still alive around Sandwich, but this ends up not working out too well. I don't think there was any info there to help Rain out, but there was also no one there to refrag his position. And I think Brokey misses here. I remember this. He just misses. It's a 1v3, but it's unfortunate. Okay, I think trying a similar strategy, but this time they don't even get the entry. They did get the entry last time. But yeah, opening kills. Daunting stat here, which is kind of interesting because there's actually been some opening kill success, and then wow, Cressy has an unreal round. Wow, I watched that from Cressy's perspective on the stream. That looks even more ridiculous from Rain's POV. They got dumpstered. That was nuts. And I mean, Sprout, the individual skill was there. I think on Dust 2 especially, they didn't play that well. Oops. Oops. Who is yellow? Is yellow Karrigan? Oh, this is the... I swear this is the play that I think Karrigan makes with Rain. So he gets Rain out to Olaf Meister, and then he used to do this on the old FaZe, and then Rain gets the sandwich, and then Karrigan throws this specific flash, and then Rain walks to the back of Hell. And if someone doesn't know that you were at Olaf, you always get the kill on the guy, either Ivy or the guy on the back of the... I think this is the exact same tactic, actually, because it involved Ivy presence. So the idea here is that you have your some of your teammates making it seem like it's a full Ivy take, and then the guy on Ivy has your attention. He's looking down Ivy, and then that's how you sneak Karrigan, or you sneak your one player out to back a 6 and then try to compromise the spots outside. But he ends up dying nice and early. It's obviously fundamentally pretty common thing to do in general right now, but back in the day it was a pretty cool tactic. I think they were going to copy and paste it, but we didn't get to see it happen. On Luka Maluku. Let's go again. 8-3 down. I think we're, Rain is here to molly off that the op peak on upper and just make sure they don't push. And his job in this default is just simply to show enough presence that the CTs might think that an execute is about to come. So the only thing that I think he's not been amazing at I don't know. He's not been actually incredible when it comes to number one, putting pressure on ladder, and number two, being careful when he's fighting ladder or playing around it. And I think there was already a number of times where I feel like he either should have died or taking a lot of damage and was already lucky not to. But there's a couple of things. Number one, it doesn't feel like any of the round is based around Rain or ladder or inner in the early rounds. So we never have, the ass peak drops that Gambit and Navi and some other teams do to take over ladder room control, which in my opinion, right now at the top level meta, ladder on train, it has become the most important part, especially for the CT side and especially for the Ts to try to deny it. But none of the game plan from Karrigan or FaZe has been leaning towards Rain in the early rounds. Instead, it feels like he's kind of an afterthought right now. Go through your default grenades. Rain throws the exact same default grenades, doesn't really make a convincing job of like, oh, there might be more people here or whatever. And then when he comes back to ladder, I think he never drops down unless he knows it's completely empty, or in that situation ends up dropping this guy right under him but isn't aware of it. But yeah, none of the game plan is over here at all. In terms of conditioning, I'm kind of a little bit worried from FaZe's perspective that like they didn't give this half of the map a lot of love. And this might be, you know, more than half the map if you consider how important ladder is these days and the fact that, you know, inner in general is just half the map. But yeah. Yeah. You want to see some really, you know, some really good ladder work. Watch a flameZ demo, one of his old demos on this. I think he was the most impressive T default player on ladder that we've did on our channel so far. And that'll draw a contrast, I think, to what we're seeing right here. He just doesn't strike me. Rain is a very calm and patient player. Doesn't really strike me as the type you want to try to apply tons of pressure or be very scrappy with in a position like this. So it seems weird, but I don't know if he's the one to offer to be the ladder guy, or if there's just no one else on the team. Brokey grabs a frag on attack to go outside. It's another opening kill here for FaZe. Yeah, I mean basically what we've seen, Molly to the back of upper. Rain might cross a little bit later on. Here holding an angle. There's nobody has ever come with him except for Brokey that one time to try to go for that pick lower and died, and then that's it. So if I'm Sprout, I'm not really scared about inner, especially on the early round, just overall. And I also am never, you know, having my Z rotator come and watch upper for a few seconds. There's just been not enough pressure, I think, on this side of the map to make a convincing game plan for them. I think what's happened instead is FaZe have had some pretty bad outside takes, and that's only strengthened Sprout's defenses outside as they've gotten better and better, and then FaZe have fed into that more, and now we're in a position where we finally want to try to take inner, but this is where, you know, Sprout might be like, okay, yeah, we're ready. So they at least get the kills here. They at least get the kills, and they come through with the wrap, so that's good. I was a bit like, oh no, the Opera had rotated inside, but he tries to re-peek, and no way they lose this round. Oh no, oh, that's not good. Okay. All right, at least they don't do that. Bomb, get planted. Summit. One of the last times we'll be able to call this spot Summit. Before we switch over to Ancient. And the bomb is not planted for either of them, but they've got kind of two chances to win in unlikely positions, so not too worried. All right. And now we're going to go into the last rounds. Again, we picked a tough demo for Rain. It's the one where he didn't get any kills, but I think it's, you know, very clearly there's some stuff that's questionable right now, whether it's how he's being used, where the game plan is going, or even how he's individually playing some of his spots here. But none of this stuff looks new to me at all, I won't lie. Just that same molly, go for the dry peek. I thought he was going to get opt. Eventually, I thought he would get opt. They get the opera off, and he misses, so that's great. And is this a position where we go back around to T-Con and take outside because we're not sure about ladder? Because that's not been great in the past. Like here, I don't think Rain even has a flash to help them scale outside. And they don't have T-Con control either. Oh my god. This will be hard. This will be hard. Aye, no bomb. That's it. Yeah, they just got. This is the thing that I want to give Sprout full credit for this big win, but I really don't think that FaZe played that well. They just didn't have much reason to be scared. I think they were really obvious. I think their defaults were way too samey in terms of the calls. I think their out execs didn't get good. They didn't use the full round to try to condition both sides of the map. And I don't think Rain had a particularly inspired game plan in the defaults. He was throwing the same utility on the same timings, doing the same thing. There was no 2 flashes at any point to draw out utility for the retakes. They didn't actually take precautions to not get opt in some of those positions. Brokey just dry peeked ones. Rain just walked across at lower ones. When it came to ladder, I don't think. First of all, we never killed the CT in ladder. There was never a double drop there. There was no particular emphasis on trying to take ladder control or get the kills there from Rain's POV. No one helped him do that. When he did it himself, he basically either died, didn't fight it, and wrapped around and then lost a round, or just avoided it. Yeah, avoided it entirely. So that looked very phoned in, to put it lightly. And I would say it was both the game plan that was not great and the individual stuff looking quite uninspired. So that's kind of harsh, but I think that's my take on that. I didn't expect it to be like I expected a bit more. I won't lie. So okay, oh, that was interesting. I think that I thought I would be, because the last one we did on Poison, I was kind of like, pretty wrong about how Poison was. Like, I thought Poison actually played even better watching the demo than I thought when I watched the game, which was cool. Here, I think this was more accurate to the scoreboard or the perception. So I think here, perception, I feel like met narrative. If you thought so, let me know. If you didn't think so, let me know. And let me know if you want me to keep doing these perception versus narrative videos. That was Rain. I hope you enjoyed that. And another day. Who would you put ladder? Yeah, it's a really interesting. I think I would put... I feel like Twistzz is the kind of player who would be really good at this thing. He's really good at hard spots. And I would consider ladder on T-side a very hard spot. So I think Twistzz might be really good at this kind of thing. He was the guy who likes to play Halls on Inferno. He liked to play Drop on Cobblestone. He liked to play Squeaky on Cash. He likes to play whatever. He likes to play hard spots that you get spammed a lot. So, yeah. They need a player who is way more proactive. Maybe I can just show you, for example, like... Let me show you, for example. Let's see. Let's look at this flameZ demo. This is 7 months ago. Okay. It's cool that he understands like that he needs to put on the pressure. Exactly. What I just said there. Let me see if we get a round where he ends up dropping or something. Oh, yeah, this is back when he was on endpoint, actually. Does he get a kill this round, actually? Oh, let's see. Okay, they set up and gets an opening. We've got a similar situation. Pretty sure this is a back six smoke. Same lineup I use. The same lineup I use. Facts. Oh, they already have a ladder room control. Let's see if how they get it early on. Pretty simple stuff. Chris didn't get a chance to shoot. Pretty simple stuff. Pretty simple. Great trade. Pretty simple stuff. All right. There they already cross. Care flanks. See, in this position, for example, the amount of times that FaZe in that last game didn't even get this spot. Like, they were never in ladder holding. Look at how outside works when they have look at how open outside is, what positions they can be in if you have ladder room control. But when you don't, and then they were inside of these trains on the anti-eco, they were dying that way. It opens up the site totally. I don't need a spot where he actually drops down ladder or fights or something. Because Frozen's down there waiting for him, and Frozen's one of the best CT ladder players for sure. So we see how he
ladder.
goes to work for it.
Far ladder molly to come down. The deep nades will be thrown, and he's just watching for the walk up. You can see he's holding specifically.
See, there is a spot where I think Cressy or whoever was actually there.
And he's spamming into this kind of pocket inside the bottom of the ladder.
Cressy or whatever who was actually there and walked up and could have got spammed in that exact spot that flameZ is holding just now. And also here they draw out some utility. They draw a Molotov from the CT side as well as a smoke. This is utility that can end up becoming a retake utility no matter what site goes to. So this is another part, is that you can actually bait out utility if you play your spot correctly with enough pressure, even if you actually don't push it.
The CT's incendiary up here, I don't know. I think it's disruptive, but I think it's really hard.
And so here we actually win ladder after putting enough pressure outside, and then it becomes the entry this way. I don't know if we win, but look at this, the amount of value that he's already got. Number one, they've drawn out smoke, Molotov. They've got outside control, they took ladder control, and they used it to execute right away. And it's totally clean off of this too. And here it's really hard to read because they don't know if endpoint are actually going to use ladder because they put a lot of pressure on it. So these are the intangibles I'm trying to explain when we're watching that rain game of like how much value you can have just by understanding like pressure in general and how little there was, how easy that was to read. Okay, let's see again. Like, look at this, man. Even just shit like this is like his own smoke here, and he's here just to cause problems. He wants you to shoot back. He wants you to let him know that he's there. He wants to let you know that as soon as you leave, I'm going to find out that you're not there anymore, and I'm going to take that spot from you as soon as you go as well. Yeah, Money Max is a great IGL, no doubt. Look how many times he's actually dropping in these spots, and he doesn't even have help in these defaults as well. I'm not even interested in the kills, more so about like the pressure and shit that he puts on. I've already seen some really good examples of this. Let's see if how they use him.
Change up the pace, and it's also an irritant. Waiting.
This is the last round of it. But yeah, okay.
Trying to bait some shots in with that drop. The 3 default ideas.
Let's look at some example of pressure. Here's some pressure. That's pressure. This is pressure. This is pressure.
I think you heard a tag.
That's pressure. Any of those things are good examples of pressure in a default. This is pressure. This is what I'm talking about. All right. That's working for it. That's working for every little bit of point of damage in a very hard spot. That's very CT-sided. All of these things. Look at this. Baiting a utility. 4x mouse stickers playing against mouse. True. Pressure. It's pressure, pressure. You know what I mean? Okay, the same thing again. He's like, don't get comfortable in this spot. Don't stand over here. Careful on this timing. Oh, I might nade you late. Every single default, something changes a bit. Something, the type of, look at this shit, man. Look at that shit. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. That's what makes a good ladder player, okay? You'll be willing to do this kind of thing. And, earning every step and putting tons of pressure all the time. And also, this is the other thing that has to do with Karrigan and getting involved as well, is the fact that, if Rain's here by himself, he can't make that play that was just made, where it's his teammate drops Molly and he drops in it for a second. You need someone to be there. So Yeah, that was also, it felt like there was not much of the default. Look at the map. It's leaning towards B here a lot of the time, even if they haven't decided what part of the map they want to go to right away. Okay, there he misses a molly, but it would have got smoked anyways.
Wow. I mean, he's like losing health while he's taking the duel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll put this in the demo, actually, the demo review as well to talk about this, but I think that kind of helps illuminate this a little bit more. But yeah. All right, that's it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. And Frozen, very good. I actually also watched the demo from Frozen's POV of this exact same game. I think this is where basically they tried to. He was playing ladder CD side, and you could see what it looked like from flameZ POV to watch. You could see what it looked like from Frozen's POV to watch flameZ be so annoying, basically. So this is really good too. It's either this one or the good performance. I can't remember. He actually had a good map. But yeah. All right.